How many of us have been affected by cancer? Whether you have had cancer personally, a family member, or a close friend, please raise your hand. Look around. So many of us in this room have been impacted by cancer, yet none of us are alone. 32 years ago, my parents took a step in the dark in coming to the US without knowing the language or what their future held. Shortly after that, I was born right around the corner in Oakland, California. Growing up, my dad worked 2 jobs, and we lived in an apartment where we couldn't have too many lights on at once. My parents sacrificed so much to be able to give us the life we lived. I had a pretty regular childhood. I would walk to school in San Lorenzo, played t-ball, and loved beating my friends in tetherball. I hope you all remember that game. But all of that changed when I began having pains in my left leg. I remember playing tetherball and falling down randomly. I would become extremely frustrated because I do not like losing. And with the history of cancer in my family, my parents decided to take me to the doctor. But the doctor said, it's just growing pains. Give him medicine, he'll be fine. And that's exactly what we did. But the pain can get more and more intense. I even became nauseous because of the pain. So my parents decided to take me back to the doctor, and they demanded an x-ray. They finally gave in. That was when our life took a step in the wrong direction. While waiting for the results, my parents decided to take little old me and my sister Alexis for burgers. We were having the time of our lives playing in the play structure while enjoying our meals. I happened to look over at my parents. They had crocodile tears streaming down their face. I became worried, so I approached them and asked, "What's going on?" They said, "The doctor found a tumor, and it could be cancer." I was 8 years old. I didn't know what cancer was, so I told them to rub some ointment on my leg. It would all be fine. But I was unaware of the severity of cancer. I was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma, a type of bone cancer that is extremely rare in children. The doctors were shocked to have found it in my left leg. We immediately began chemotherapy, and they immobilized me, making me a daily wheelchair user. We did chemotherapy for about 6 months to try to reduce the size of the tumor before having to make the toughest decision of my life, whether to keep my leg or amputate it. Keeping my leg meant a much higher risk of cancer coming back, roughly 50%, as opposed to a 5% chance if I chose to amputate. It also meant countless surgeries until I was fully developed. Remember, I was 8 years old. I probably wouldn't finish developing until my early 20s. I was tired of cancer, tired of chemotherapy. I missed school. I wanted to go back, enjoying time with my family, and of course, beating my friends in tetherball. So my parents sat me down and they explained all of this to me. They ended up giving me, 8-year-old Jorge Sanchez, the power to decide. So I decided to have my leg amputated. A few hours after my amputation, my nub ruptured. My mother describes this moment as a murder scene. The white hospital sheets turned completely red. I lost so much blood that I went into a 3-month-long coma. The doctor told my parents I would not survive. 3 months later, I awoke, and my leg was gone. I remember waking up, and I was surrounded by my community. I was so excited to see everybody. But the oxygen levels started to drop rapidly, so the doctor kicked everyone out. To this day, people ask me if I made the right decision in having my leg amputated. And the answer is simple: absolutely. That decision put me one step closer to where I am today. As I continue to take steps forward, I fell in love with playing wheelchair basketball. At the age of 10, I finally had the courage to go out in public. That was a huge step for me. My mother invited me to go to the grocery store, and I could not pass up the opportunity to go devour all the samples. I know I'm not the only one in this room that plans their trips around the sample times. While shopping around, a man approached us and asked if I had ever played wheelchair basketball. We looked at him confused, not knowing that there were sports for people with disabilities. His name was Mike, and he invited me to go try wheelchair basketball at Bay Area Outreach Recreational Program, BORP, a sports team dedicated to providing wheelchairs and sports equipment for people with disabilities, allowing us to stay active, pursue our dreams, and foster independence. When I got there, I saw all these amazing athletes pushing up and down the court so fast while smiling. I finally had a sense of belonging. I remember strapping the wheelchair to my waist as tight as possible, pushing out onto that court, and feeling free for the first time in years. I finally felt like I didn't have to rely on my mom and dad to push me around. I found a sense of my capabilities. I fell in love with playing wheelchair basketball. I continued playing throughout high school, and I was eventually recruited to the University of Texas at Arlington on a full-ride scholarship for basketball. Another step in the right direction. But going to college posed a whole new set of obstacles for me. In basketball, I had to learn how to use my left hand, which is still not great, to gain a competitive advantage against my opponents. And in life, I felt like I had to learn how to use my left hand too. I had to learn how to do everything on my own in a world where people with disabilities are often overlooked. Growing up, my parents did everything for me. They would cook, clean, do my laundry. My mother would even come in every morning and wake me up with a good morning kiss. I had to learn how to cook my own meal in order to fuel myself and become the best athlete possible. College pushed me out of my comfort zone in so many different ways. But coming out of college, I felt invincible. From mastering the art of cooking a boxed meal to leading UT Arlington to a #1 ranking going into nationals 3 years in a row. And in 2013, during my senior season, I received an email that changed my life. I got invited to try out for Team USA's wheelchair basketball team. A dream of mine. And guess what? I made the team. I came back in 2014 ready for the next season, but was cut. Came out 2015, tried out, cut again. 2016, cut again. I was told no 3 years in a row, but I was used to defying the odds. The doctors had told my parents I wouldn't survive cancer, and here I am. I played the game of life, so why couldn't I conquer the game of wheelchair basketball? I continued to use my community to support me and push me to be the best version of myself. They supported me as I kept taking steps forward and achieving my goals. And in 2017, I made the team once again. Haven't really looked back since then. Most recently, won a gold medal at the Tokyo Paralympics and looking to repeat at the 2024 Paris Paralympics. As I continue to take strides in my professional career, despite the many obstacles I've faced, the world continues to lack knowledge about the daily struggles of people with disabilities. A lot of the times when I'm out in public, I see parents grab their child and pull them away aggressively from me, smack their hand when they point at me, or even tell them to shh when they make a comment, giving them the notion that they shouldn't approach people with disabilities, that we're scary, that being different isn't cool. And that is not what we want. We're just like everybody else. We all have had to persevere through tough situations. Just because we maneuver through life a little bit differently doesn't make us any less. So I encourage everyone to ask those difficult questions, to become educated on different disabilities, because around 80% of disabilities are not visible to the eye. Paralympians continue to be affected by the lack of visibility. It wasn't until recently that we received equal pay. And it's evident that the Paralympics don't receive the same coverage of media as the Olympics. There's so many stories, so many amazing stories that Paralympians have to say. We must be heard. I think the one thing that each Paralympian has in common is the amazing community that we've built in our respected lives. I continue to use my community to push me through tough times. My community includes my incredible wife, my strong parents, my incredible friends, and of course, my sister Alexis. Growing up, we were inseparable. But all of that changed when I was diagnosed with cancer and all attention turned to me. She felt neglected, but we were able to fix our relationship. Once I accepted the scholarship to UTA, all that changed once again. She felt alone, scared, and neglected once again. I would often say insensitive things like, "Why are you crying? Why are you so sensitive?" So I had to take a step back and reflect on what she was going through. I took a step out of my comfort zone to have that difficult conversation, to mend our relationship. And now, we're closer than ever. I've been blessed to have amazing people around me, and now want to give back to the disabled community all over the world. Recently, I met future Paralympian Devin. The only issue was Devin didn't have his own chair, similar to me when I first started playing wheelchair basketball. These wheelchairs cost anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000, extremely expensive. Everyone deserves to stay active, not worry about where their medical equipment is going to come from, where their sports equipment is going to come from. I was fortunate enough to partner with an amazing organization and give Devin his own wheelchair. The smile on his face lit up the room. It reminded me of when I first started playing. I'm excited to continue to take steps in growing my community and helping people with disabilities come out of their comfort zone. At this point in my life, I've achieved a lot. But all of that started with my parents taking that one step and moving to the US. From there, at the age of 8, I took one step in deciding to have my leg amputated. One step to go out in public. One step to try wheelchair basketball. one step to mend my relationship with my sister. And I will continue to take steps to push people with disabilities out of their comfort zone and into the core of life. I know being disabled is scary and all we want to do is fit in. But what's really cool is standing out. Being your authentic self will surround you with the right people. So I encourage everyone here and everyone watching to continue to take steps forward in pursuit of their dreams, to become educated. Because after all, the only limits in life are the ones we set ourselves. Thank you. Thank you.